shall we begin?
Let the games begin.
All right.
A new age has begun. An age of freedom.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Get to the chopper!
This is going to be quite the ride.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria. This is the Movie Pit Podcast, where we talk about all the big breaking movie news items of the week, along with the trailers that came out this week. We have quite a few of those, and the movies that are coming out in theaters and streaming this weekend for all your viewing pleasures. Hello, I've been gone. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Last month was pretty crappy in terms of wanting to record podcasts and doing them properly and everything like that. So I like to apologize on that front. I don't know how March is gonna be, although I do know that I will be doing, for a fact, a reaction podcast to The Batman, which comes out this weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the podcast, but I will be doing a reaction pod to that. That will most likely come out either probably Tuesday, to be more honest. I would like to do it on Monday, but I don't know if I'll have time on Monday to properly record and edit, so that will probably be a Tuesday release. Reasons I've been gone, again, the schedule's been a little heavy. And then last week I was out of town. I went to Los Angeles, which was always a lot of fun when I go out there. I used to go pretty much every year for like a good 4 or 5 years. And then COVID happened, and that kind of obviously ruined everything. But yeah, I went back, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with my brother, who I went with. And I have a bunch of pictures and videos and stuff that I'm still going through, and sporadically will release once I have all that done. So we'll talk about, obviously we won't talk about it here on the podcast, but it was a lot of fun. If you're out there in LA, I do recommend the Academy Museum, which they just opened during the pandemic. I think it was earlier this year, maybe, that they opened. It hasn't been open that long. But I went there, a lot of fun. It's mind-boggling just how much stuff they have there and how much information they give you and everything like that. We spent, because I went with my brother, obviously, we spent a ton of time at the Academy Museum. We spent more time than we thought we would. But yeah, they have this great Miyazaki exhibit that I think they're only doing for a limited time. It sounds like they'll probably be shifting exhibits every now and then, and the Miyazaki exhibit was one of those. We couldn't take pictures or video or anything inside, which I found really weird, but I guess I understand why. But at the same time, you walk in there, it's like, I mean, if you're a big Miyazaki fan, that all that stuff was really cool to look at. I don't know. But it was really cool. So if you live in the LA area, or you're going to the LA area anytime soon, and you haven't checked out the Academy Museum, highly recommend it. So, all right, but we're not talking about enough about that. Enough about me. You're here to listen to my half-assed opinions on movie news and movie trailers. So let's get to those, shall we? Let's start off with trailer talk.
Coming soon to theaters.
All right, so we got a couple trailers that came out. We have more than a couple trailers. We have a few trailers that came out, but yeah, a couple trailers that I'm not going to really get into. Sony Pictures released a final trailer to Morbius, which still currently has its April 1st release date. But I'm very, I've mentioned in the podcast before, I usually don't watch final trailers, mainly because final trailers a lot of the times is obviously the studio's last, big effort to get you to go watch their movie. And sometimes they put some spoiler stuff on there, or stuff that, you kind of wish you saw for the first time while watching the movie at a theater. So I didn't watch it, but it's up there. I'll link it down below like I always do if you want to go check that out. There was a new trailer for Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore that came out this week. I haven't watched the second one yet. I watched the first one. I haven't watched the second one. For whatever reason, the second one got past me. But I haven't watched it yet, so I didn't watch the trailer. I watched the other trailer, but I just didn't watch this one because I don't know. I'm kind of losing interest in the Fantastic Beasts movies, even though I've only seen one of them. So, yeah, there's that. Very quickly, another trailer that came out this week, Master. It's a horror movie. It follows three women trying to strive in a prestigious New England university whose frosty elitism may disguise something more sinister. The title comes from Regina Hall's character, a professor who has been promoted to master of a residence hall, the first black woman in history of the school to do that. She eventually finds herself wrapped in the trials and tribulations of a new freshman student named Jasmine, played by Zoe Renee, who has moved into a dorm that is rumored to be haunted, although everyone she talks to says that it is haunted. It's not a rumor. And the third woman is another professor who is in the middle of a racially charged tenure review. It looks kind of creepy, very reminiscent of, you know what, I had the movie and I totally lost it right now as soon as I said those words. I can't remember what it was, but it looks kind of creepy. It's Regina Hall. There's some good imagery in there. It's, I guess some people have seen this because there's, quotes in there and everyone's kind of talking about how it's both a horror movie and it's racially aware. I almost said awake, aware of everything. So I don't think anyone was comparing it to Us or any Jordan Peele movies, but it kind of seems like that's kind of what it's going for. But that opens in theaters and globally on Prime Video on March 18th. So we won't have to wait too long for that one. On that front. Another movie coming out on March 18th, this one's going straight to theaters, is a supernatural horror thriller starring Sandra Oh titled Umma, which is Korean for mother. Oh plays Amanda, a mother living a quiet life with her daughter, played by Fivelle Stewart, I think that's how you pronounce her first name, on a secluded farm raising bees. But when the ashes of her estranged mother arrive from Korea, Amanda starts to become haunted and fears that she will be becoming like her mother, or Umma, like I mentioned, Korean for mother. The movie looks pretty creepy. It also looks like, at least from the trailers, that it will be mainly Sandra Oh and Stewart in the movie for the most part. Obviously, the focus a lot more on Sandra Oh. The bonus here, in case you don't want to watch a trailer, or if you need some more motivation, Sam Raimi produced the movie, not through Ghost Pictures, but through his own production company, his new production company, or his other production company rather. So there is that. Umma will open, like I mentioned, on March 18th. This looks kind of creepy. The poster for it's kind of creepy too. It's Sandra Oh, and like half of her face is her, and the other half is like a skeleton, almost like a spirit like a spirit face, something like that. So yeah, this looks pretty creepy. I like Sandra Oh. Her in a horror movie seems pretty cool. There's some great family drama in it, obviously, and even from the trailers, there's this kind of great scene that's kind of creepy. That kind of plays up to the creepiness of the trailer. Sandra Oh and the daughter character are kind of talking in the middle of their field, and the daughter's like, "I can't wait to get away from you," and Sandra Oh's like, "You're never gonna get away from me," or something along those lines. But yeah, it's pretty creepy. I didn't know anything about this movie, and then it's finally here. So there you go. March 18th for Umma, if you want to go check that out in theaters. And now we'll move on to the bigger trailers of the week. The first big trailer of the week was Netflix dropped a new trailer for their upcoming sci-fi drama, The Adam Project, which actually opens next week on March 11th, or streams next week on March 11th, rather. That, of course, stars Ryan Reynolds, newcomer Walker Scobell, Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Gardner, Mark Ruffalo, and Catherine Keener. It is directed by Sean Levy, who of course directed the Night of the Museum series, or trilogy, not series, trilogy movies, and of course he directed Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds that came out last year. The Adam Project tells the story of a time-traveling pilot played by Ryan Reynolds who teams up with a younger version of himself, played by newcomer Scobell, to find their late father, Mark Ruffalo, to come to terms with their past while saving the future. This is pretty cool. We talked about it when the first trailer dropped last month, pretty much. And it still looks pretty good. There's we mentioned when the trailer dropped, or not when the trailer dropped, I think it was obviously more than a few weeks ago maybe, that reviews were starting to come out from the Adam Project because people had seen it already, and everyone's saying it's really good. The trailer is filled with some more of those quotes for people that have seen it already. People are comparing it to early Steven Spielberg, kind of comparing it to E.T. and a bunch of other coming of age stories that of course happen to be sci-fi movies. So The Adam Project. I'm looking forward to it. I mentioned I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a fan of Ryan Reynolds, and I pretty much like the cast. Ryan Reynolds, Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Gardner, Mark Ruffalo, Catherine Keener, who we finally see. And here she has got like one shot in the whole trailer, but she's there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Adam Project. It looks pretty great. It does look like a great coming of age story with some sci-fi elements in there. So I'm looking forward toward it. That again will stream on Netflix on March 11th. And then the next big trailer, which I'm really looking forward to, this one's been on my list of highly anticipated movies for the year. The first trailer for David Leitch's newest action movie, Bullet Train, which we've talked about here on the podcast before. It's also an adaptation of a Japanese novel that came out this week, and it looks really, really good. At least in my opinion, it looks really, really good. The movie is set inside a bullet train, hence the title, where several professional killers are riding, and some of them are there to retrieve a mysterious briefcase. One of them is our main character, played by Brad Pitt, who looks more like a straight man. He doesn't look like a typical like assassin. He's kind of a goof. Almost not necessarily like a goof, but he's kind of more like just kind of hey man, what's going on? There's at one point because Bad Bunny is in the movie, and he stabs him in the chest, but Brad Pitt's I guess he has his phone on his chest or something, and like his chest pocket, and it saves him. And Brad Pitt's like, "You stabbed me," and then Bad Bunny's like, "You ruined my life," and Pitt's character is like, "I don't even know who you are." So you kind of get a sense of the style and the tone of what the movie's going for. While there's some great shots in here, like there really is, and you got the bullet train aspect, which is great because it just condenses your environment, and I really like it. It's a very impressive cast. You got Pitt in there. I mentioned Bad Bunny's in there. It doesn't look like he lasts very long, but he's in there. Brad Pitt, Brian Tyree Henry, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I think is playing the main villain in the movie, Joey King, Andrew Koji from Warrior, and he played Snake Eyes, or not Snake Eyes, he played Storm Shadow in Snake Eyes last year. Zazie Beetz, Logan Lerman, Michael Shannon's in there. Very quickly, you see a brief shot of him. It looks like he has long hair, and it looks like he's tatted up. And Hiroyuki Sanada is also in there. Sandra Bullock is also in there. It looks like she's playing the handler to Brad Pitt's character. That role was originally meant for Lady Gaga. I don't think she's on the train. It looks like a lot of their conversations are over the phone, so that probably was like a little paycheck for Sandra Bullock, but she's in there. But yeah, you also got Karen Fukunaga in there. She's from The Boys. It looks like she's playing one of the train assistants. She has a very great scene at the very end of the trailer, where she's like, she's like a train, someone works for the train, and she's pushing a cart and asking them if they need anything, and Brad Pitt's like, "I'll take a sparkling water," even though it clearly looks like him and Aaron Taylor Johnson are beating the crap out of each other. He's like, "No, I'll take a drink of water." So I really like the trailer. I've been looking forward to this since it was pretty much announced, because I'm a big fan of David Leitch. David Leitch, by the way, one of the directors of the first John Wick movie, although Chad Stahelski takes the credit for it, but David Leitch was part of the directing duo for that. He also directed Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, Atomic Blonde. So I'm really looking forward to it. And this movie was already on top of my most anticipated movies of the year. It jumped up even more because of this trailer. I really like, and the trailer itself plays like a cover of Staying Alive, which I thought was really, really cool. So yeah, there you go. Bullet Train will open on July 15th. You can definitely guarantee that we will be talking about this more once we get closer to that release date. All right, so those are all the trailers that came out this week, at least at the time of this recording. So if anything drops, obviously I will put it down below in the description/show notes area. All those trailers are linked down below, down there as well, if you want to watch them for the first time or if you want to watch them again. So there you go. All right, let's move on to the movie news items of the week. All right, so let's talk about the movie news items that came out this week. Very quickly, we'll talk about some quick fire movie news items for you guys. Jason Momoa confirmed that he is playing the villain in Fast and the Furious 10, although he didn't say much more to it. Momoa joined the movie, I don't know, was it back in February maybe? Last month was February. It was probably like early February, maybe like late January where he joined. So he confirmed that he is playing the villain for Fast and the Furious 10. Again, didn't go much more into detail about that, but there you go. Big time producer director Lorenzo Di Beneventura, who of course has produced like the Transformers movies, all of them pretty much, and produced a bunch of other movies as well, but that's kind of where his name is solidified now with the Transformers series. He is producing a new biopic about the legendary illusionist Harry Houdini. I don't know who Henry Houdini, that's probably his brother. Harry Houdini. The plot of the movie is still in the wraps, but the story will be set at the height of Houdini's fame in the early 20th century with a, quote, Sherlock Holmes tone to the story. It will also focus on the supernatural personality that Houdini carried with him throughout his iconic performances. Other than that, I got no real big information on that. So, I mean, it's not the first time Harry Houdini's life has been told, in Hollywood, so probably won't be the last, but there you go. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, 20th Century Studios president Steve Aspell gave updates on future projects, both of which are sequels. First one is the third Hercule Poirot movie, which of course just had their second one come out, Death on the Nile. Aspell says the script for the third movie has been written already, and even says the movie will shift genre and tone and will be set in post-war Venice and will be an adaptation of one of the lesser-known Hercule Poirot novels, which of course were written by Agatha Christie. It sounds like Kenneth Branagh will return to direct and star, of course, as Hercule Poirot, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But this is just coming from his interview and not necessarily something that's been reported, at least at the time, of course, of this recording. But if he's saying it, if the president of the studio that is responsible for these movies is saying it, then there is a good chance that the third movie is being made. Death on the Nile made a pretty good haul at the box office so far, given, pandemic restrictions and stuff like that, but the second one did pretty good, so why not do another one? As for the other sequel that we talked about, Free Guy, that sequel was announced pretty much almost right when the first one was released, because it did so well amongst critics and audiences and even at the box office itself. Aspell said that the script for the movie is reportedly days away, so they are currently knocking away at the script at the moment, but it's not done yet, as opposed to the third Hercule Poirot movie, which apparently is already finished with its script. So there you go. I have not seen Death on the Nile yet. I did see Murder on the Orient Express, which was the first movie, and it was okay. It wasn't all that great, but I heard Death on the Nile was a little bit better. It was better, crafted. It was better crafted than the first movie, but I haven't heard or seen anybody saying that the movie was flat out awful. I have seen people saying that they were kind of disappointed by it, and that, but other than that, I haven't seen anything, too damaging to that movie. And as for Free Guy, I loved Free Guy. Free Guy was great. Free Guy was on my, one of my favorite movies of the year last year. So I look forward to that, and can't wait to see what they do with the sequel to it. So the remake of the 1992 comedy White Men Can't Jump has found its first lead in Grammy-nominated rapper Jack Harlow. The remake will be Harlow's acting debut. The movie will be directed also by music video director Climatic. I think that's Calmatic. I don't know how he pronounces it. But he's done music videos for Pharrell, DJ Khaled, and directed Old Town Road for Lil Nas X. This will actually be his second movie. He already made his directorial debut with another remake, which was House Party, which will reportedly come out later this year. Supposedly, at least reportedly anyway, coming out later this year. Again, delays permitting that they get that done. The original film starred Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes as two street basketball players who team up to hustle money out of anyone who would challenge them. Rosie Perez also appeared in the movie in a kind of a breakout role for her, and a role that a lot of people, when you think of White Man Can't Jump, you either think of Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, or you think of Rosie Perez. It's one or the other. But yeah, she appeared in there, and she shared some screen time with the late Alex Trebek, who played himself. Her character appears on Jeopardy, and Alex Trebek was obviously the host back then. They had him on the movie as well. Harlow will, of course, play the Woody Harrelson role in the movie. Still no word yet on who will be playing the Wesley Snipes role. Kenyon Barris, the creator of ABC's Blackish, has written the script with one of his story editors on the show, Doug Hall, and professional basketball players Ryan Kelly and Blake Griffin are producing the project as well. Famous and well-liked comedian and actor Bill Burr will make his featured film directorial debut with an original comedy titled Old Dads. On top of that, he already has a cast in Bobby Cannavale and Bokeem Woodbine. Burr will also write and star in the movie as well. The movie will center on a middle-aged father, played by Burr, and his two best friends, Cannavale and Woodbine, who, after selling their company to a millennial, find themselves out of step and behind the times as they hilariously struggle to navigate a changing world of culture, career, and fatherhood. Production on the movie has already started this week in LA, but there is no word yet on who will distribute it, and when will the movie be released. All right, so let's move on to the bigger movie news items of the week. We're going to talk about one that obviously is more political, and anyone who listens to the podcast knows I don't like getting political on the podcast, but nowadays, I think, you gotta talk about it a little bit. And this is political, but it also is movie related, especially for any, buddy, out there. I don't know how many, overseas listeners I have, but this obviously is important, but it also shows just how, I can't think of the word now, how connected we are and how aware we are and how Hollywood is aware of everything that is going on. So in the wake of the terrible things happening over in the Ukraine and Russia, movie studios are taking their stance over the situation, and multiple studios are delaying or completely pulling their releases from the country of Russia. Disney was the first major Hollywood studio to delay the releases. The first one was going to be Pixar's Turning Red, which was going to open in a couple weeks, I believe the 18th over there. Warner Brothers followed suit by pulling the release of the Batman. Originally, they were saying that they were just going to delay the movie, but they completely removed the movie from the Russian release schedule. Paramount Pictures then paused their movie releases with which starts with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at the end of the month. Sony Pictures also paused their release of Morbius in the country, and then Universal followed suit as well, delaying at least for now their releases in the country. Russia has become a good earnings playground for Hollywood in the recent years. Recently, Spider-Man No Way Home earned $44.5 million in Russia alone. So, there's always a lot of talks about how the foreign markets really affect Hollywood and everything. Obviously, China being one of the big ones, and Russia has kind of become that other second. I don't even think it's second, but it is becoming a big playground and to Hollywood, and obviously with everything going on over there, it just, there's words, but I don't know how to fully articulate them. Obviously, everything that's going on, we should pay attention, because it obviously is a big thing happening in the world, and it sucks. And anyone who is affected by that listens to this podcast, whether you have family over there, whether you know someone who has family over there, whether you're Ukrainian, or whether you're, even if you're Russian and you don't support what's going on over there, my heart is with you. My heart and my prayers and my feelings and my thoughts are all with anyone that is affected by this, whether directly or indirectly by what's going on. So hopefully this ends in a very peaceful way, and nothing more comes of it. So there's no easy way to go from that. Obviously transition from that to the next movie news item. So we're just gonna move on to sequel news. Maybe sequel news. We don't really know, because it's still kind of up in the air. Talks about a sequel to Beetlejuice have started up again this week. This comes from Jeff Snyder, who has been in Hollywood as a reporter, analyst, etc. He's been in Hollywood for a while, and he's kind of become a trusted source amongst many people. So when Jeff Snyder writes something, a lot of people tend to take it as not necessarily as face value, tend to take it seriously, because he has gotten a lot of big scoops. Sometimes he's wrong, like a lot of analysts and reporters and what have you, whatever they want to call themselves. Sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they get it wrong. Sometimes they get it half right. But so when Jeff Snyder writes something, a lot of times people, because he is very respected within the industry, a lot of people tend to listen. So he wrote something up. He wrote a story for The Ankler, saying that the sequel is in talks and have started up again. It looks like the movie will be set up over at Warner Brothers. Snyder said that, quote, Brad Pitt's company Plan B has come on board to produce Beetlejuice 2, which could shoot this summer with original stars Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder reprising their roles. He then went on to say that Warner Brothers has not greenlit the movie, And there is no word on if Tim Burton will return to direct. So that was kind of all that he had written up. And obviously people went with it because, again, it was Jeff Snyder. And we've had talks about, there has been talks about a sequel to Beetlejuice. Last time there was a real update on the movie was back in 2017 when Mike Vodovinsky, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I can sit here and try to pronounce his last name, but it's not going to happen. But he was a writer on the Hulu series Runaways. He was hired to rewrite a screenplay that was originally written by Seth Grahame-Smith, who he was a novel writer who turned, screenwriter for Hollywood, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, the Lego Batman movie. He's been attached to a bunch of other projects, and he usually kind of does write this, like the first draft of the script, and then he kind of, someone else comes in and rewrites his stuff. But Keaton himself has also publicly talked about possibly returning, and he has shown interest in playing Beetlejuice again. Now, again, this isn't official. There's been talks about a sequel for a long time, and without a green light, that summer date seems really impossible unless they have pretty much everything lined up already and they rush into production. And usually that's not a really good sign if you rush a movie into production, unless you have everything already set up and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, Beetlejuice sequel, sure, why not? I like the first one. I haven't really rewatched it. I used to rewatch it a lot when I was younger because it was kind of always on TV, especially around Halloween, so I would always kind of watch. But recently I haven't really sat down and just watched the whole thing all the way through, so I don't really know how it holds up. But I mean, if it happens, I think the most unrealistic thing about this is that Plan B is attached. Maybe I don't know why, but that just seems kind of I don't know. But we'll see. I guess we'll see if that is the case. Veteran producer Joe Silver, Robert Downey Jr., along with his Team Downey production banner, are teaming up with Amazon Studios to develop a series of feature films and TV projects based on Donald E. Westlake's series of popular crime fiction novels, Parker, which he co-wrote under the pseudonym Richard Stark, which I see what you did there. The first project will be Play Dirty, which Downey Jr. will play the main character, Parker, a professional thief who approaches his job with a straightforward, no-nonsense work ethic. The character has been played on screen before in 3 different movies. Robert Duvall played him in The Outfit. Mel Gibson famously played him in Payback. And Jason Statham played him in the aptly titled Parker. So there is that. Shane Black will also be part of the project. He will be writing the screenplay with Charles Mundry. He's new to the scene. It looks like he's going to be working with Shane Black, or has been working with Shane Black kind of behind the scenes, and now he's finally kind of getting into the to the mainstream. The movie will be directed by Anthony Bogorowski. I can't pronounce his last name, but he will be directing the movie. He was actually a co-writer on Shane Black's The New Guys, and this will be his directorial debut. So there you go. This obviously also reunites Downey, Shane Black, and Silver. Of course, they did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which a lot of people really, really love that movie. It's a really good movie. I haven't seen it in a while, so I had to go back and check that out. But obviously, another reuniting them is pretty good move, especially on a crime, on a crime series like this, and series and TV shows. So I don't know if Shane Black's going to be a part of everything. Maybe he'll be like a producer on all the projects, but I think this is pretty cool. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr.'s and his production banner, Team Downey, are looking for projects and stuff. I think they signed. I want to say they signed somewhere else too. Not recently, but they did sign like a project, signed to do like some other stuff somewhere. But yeah, there you go. And yeah, that's that news item. The next movie news item we'll talk about is Ariana DeBose, who just won the SAG Award this Sunday for her performance in West Side Story. She has joined Sony Pictures' Kraven the Hunter and will reportedly play the role of Calypso. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who of course we already talked about in the podcast, is already set to play Kraven himself, and Russell Crowe has joined the project. He joined the project last month, and last week, Fred Hedgehanger, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. He's from the TV series White Lotus. He joined the project as well, although there's no word on who he's playing, at least from what I was able to quickly gather when I was writing the story. Calypso has gone through many variations in the comics. Famously, in the 90s animated series, she was a scientist that helped Spider-Man with his mutation, turning into a giant spider monster. In the comics, though, she is mostly a voodoo princess who uses magic potions and the occasional enemy to Spider-Man and the occasional partner and lover to Kraven. So we'll see how that works out in this new version here. J.C. Chandor, who directed The Most Violent Year and Netflix's Triple Frontier, will direct a movie off the script by Richard Wenk, who wrote the scripts for Expendables 2. He wrote the Equalizer movies and most recently The Prodigy that came out last year. And the script is also being written by Art Malcolm and Matt Holloway, who wrote the first Iron Man movie. They, of course, went on to write Transformers: The Last Night, Men in Black International, and recently Uncharted. So take what you will with that script. Kraven the Hunter will be released currently on January 13th next year. We'll see how much that actually happens, because obviously with Morbius, we learned our lesson and they keep changing the release date on that one. Although, obviously COVID played a big factor in that, but I don't know. And those are all the movie news items of the week. Let's move on to the movies that are coming out this weekend.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, we only have one real big release this weekend, and obviously, it's the big one. Everyone's talking about it. It's the Batman. There's everyone, everyone and their mother is saying how good this movie is. Everyone is saying how good it is. Matt Reeves, of course, directing the movie. Robert Pattinson's playing Batman. You got Zoe Kravitz playing Catwoman. Paul Dano is the Riddler. Colin Farrell is the Penguin. That cast is so loaded, and everyone is saying just how good it is. Everyone. It feels like everyone. Every reaction I've seen, I'm pretty sure there's people that don't like it out there, but every reaction that I've seen has been positive. Everyone's saying it's really good. Everyone's saying it's the best Batman movie ever. Some people are saying it's the best Batman movie since The Dark Knight. Everyone's saying that the length is not even an issue. That it just, everyone's just is saying good things about it, and it's hard for me to not get hyped about this movie. You guys know me, if you listen to the podcast long enough, I always try, and I do successfully for the most part, leave hype at the door when I go watch a movie, because I want to experience the movie the way it is, and I don't want outside hype to play a factor in how I feel about the movie. Because if I hear everyone saying, "Oh, this movie's so great, this movie's awesome, and it's fantastic," and I walk in there and I have that feeling, and then I watch the movie and it sucks, or it's not as good, or the hype doesn't play a factor, it's like, okay, then I get disappointed. But for the most part, I'm very, very good at keeping the hype level. I think it's going to be really hard to keep the hype level down for the Batman, because the Batman, one of my favorite comic book characters, especially one of my favorite DC characters. I don't care if that makes me basic or that says something about me, I don't care. But I've been hyped about this movie for a while. I know the casting of Robert Pattinson was very, it divided the fans a lot, because everyone still thinks of him as the Twilight guy, which is not true, because he's done a lot of great work on the indie circuit and the art house circuit. So I'm looking forward to that. Everyone was like, Paul Dano was the Riddler, and then, the Riddler design came out, and everyone's like, that doesn't look like the Riddler, and whatever, and then, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, almost unrecognizable, really, when you think about it. But I'm looking forward to this. I have been looking forward to this. This is a movie that I've been looking forward toward since it was first announced, and since pictures started coming out. So and I'll admit, Robert Pattinson, when he was first cast, I was like, really, Robert Pattinson? Not my first choice, but I wasn't really wholly against it. Obviously he had surprised me with a lot of his other stuff that he's done, so I was all for it. So the Batman coming out this weekend, nothing but good things. Again, I will definitely be making, I am not going to say I'm going to be making and then I don't do it like I did in February. I will be doing a reaction podcast to the Batman that will most likely come out on Tuesday. Probably recording on Monday, but I probably won't come out until Tuesday. But yeah, that's it. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. You guys know I always appreciate it. So if the podcast is a little late, and maybe because I switched platforms on releasing stuff, so apologies in advance for any kind of and any kind of, mistakes or stuff like that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. I always appreciate you guys. Be sure to check out all the links down below in the description / show notes area. It links to where you can listen to the podcast. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Stitcher, and on YouTube. Yeah. Just a whole bunch of other stuff. I know I'm forgetting something, but I just want to see if it actually works first before I kind of say that's what's going on. So it would all make sense, later next week when I do the podcast and, it comes out. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you guys have a fun, safe weekend. Continue to be safe out there. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!